Oh, thanks everybody. Welcome to Build. I'm your host, Ricky Camilleri. Our next guest is an actor and professional chef, and with his new book, Life is a Party, David Burtka wants you to throw a party. Ladies and gentlemen, David Burtka, let's hear it. Hey. Sir, I want to get into the book. I want to get into the details of the book. But first and foremost, you know, you are an actor, and you were an actor prior to being a chef. You didn't go to culinary school until around 2009. Is that correct?
That's correct. I worked as an actor. I still do work as an actor.
Yes.
Just taking a little bit of break from cooking and acting, riding the line. But yeah, I worked primarily as an actor professionally from when I was, 15 to, now.
So what spawned that? I'm always fascinated with sort of life changes. Like in the midst of your life, you have a professional life. You say, I want to do this as well, or more primarily.
Well, it was interesting. We had moved to Los Angeles, and I had been working on Broadway quite a bit. And when I met Neil, my husband, he was doing. He got a show called How I Met Your Mother. So we moved to Los Angeles he went to be on that show, and I thought, I'm gonna get on a TV show, no problem, it's great, whatever. I've done a bunch of Broadway shows, it's gonna be no seamless transition for me, and it wasn't. It was kind of a rocky, in and out, lots of auditions for stuff I didn't even want to go on. I'm an Edward Albee actor, so I was very picky on what I wanted to do. I didn't want to get on a CW show or.
You're an Edward Albee actor?
Yeah, I did two new Edward Albee plays on Broadway.
You did?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
I did the play about the baby.
Yeah.
With Marion Seldes and Brian Murray and myself, and then the Goat, who was Sylvia.
Of course, yeah. The Goat is an incredible. I've read The Goat. I've never seen it. Have you ever done the Zoo Story monologue as well? Have you ever had the chance to do that?
Well, I've read it, but I've never done the actual monologue. Yeah.
I saw Paul Sparks do that monologue at the Signature a year ago, and it was like life changing.
Oh, it's such a great play.
Yeah.
It's such a great play.
Was Albee alive when you were doing plays with him?
Oh yeah, Albee directed me in the play about the baby when we did a tryout in Houston, Texas at the Alley Theater. So he actually directed it just to get inside the play. And then he asked me, I went back to Los Angeles, and he asked me to come back and do the last couple of months of The Goat when Jeffrey had to go.
What was it like working with Edward Albee?
He's amazing.
Yeah.
He was a curmudgeon, and people were very scared of him. But, we had a very interesting relationship, him and I. It was very fatherly, and I looked up to him very much. He was a fun guy inside and very loving. He was such an animal lover, but he would never let any of that show. He wore everything, very serious, and everyone was very scared because he was a big curmudgeon as well, and he had a bit of a temper. So, but
you ever on the receiving end of that temper, or did you know how to temper him?
I never was on the receiving end of it. He never got mad at me.
Right.
And never got, he never would, but he was serious about things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now you get to LA and you're auditioning for like
I'm
shake weight commercials or something.
Yeah, things I'm not necessarily, pilots that I'm turning down that I don't really want to do, and all of a sudden I found out my mom had to go into the hospital for chemo. So I flew back to Michigan to be with her, and 20 days later she died of leukemia. And it was a big, eye-opening, what the hell am I doing with my life?
Had she been sick at all, or was it just a very fast attack?
No. She saw a spot on her arm, and she thought it was sun poisoning from a trip she had just been to, and it wasn't going away. And in hindsight, we knew she was getting more tired, and she was sleeping in more, and we thought something was wrong with her. She was just getting older. And she died 1 year from her 60th birthday. And so I thought, I just can't go back to LA and be miserable and act and get rejected and go for things that I didn't want to do. What else makes me happy? And I always, from a young age, from college on, I loved to cook, and I loved to try new things and new recipes. And whenever I got stressed, I'd make a homemade stock, or I'd try a new cake recipe or something like that. So I thought, you know what? I'm always going to have this skill if I go to cooking school. And I'll have that for my family. I knew I was going to have a family someday. And so I thought, why not? It's a break.
Where did that come from? Did you grow up around people? Did your mother cook and your father cook a lot?
My family entertained all the time. I mean, we had a family party every weekend. It was always something. It was a christening or a birthday or a retirement party or something. There was always all of our family. We lived within 45 minutes away, so everyone would get together and bring potluck. And there was like 3 different kinds of proteins, and there'd be
It's a
dancing.
great picture of teenage you in here, like preparing for a big family gathering.
Nice 90s
like
hair. My daughter looks at that, and goes, "Dad, your hair. That is not cute."
So what was it like making that decision to stop pursuing acting in that moment? Not entirely, but in that moment, and go to culinary
It was a lot.
school?
Like I don't think I had much of a choice. Like I knew that I couldn't act. I knew that I couldn't be miserable in LA. LA for me was a bit of a black cloud. It was a dark, dark place for me. It was very lonely, isolating. There was no evolution for me because there's no seasons, and I felt very sad there. It's not for everybody. So I felt like I had to do something to break out of my shell, something completely different. So going into classes and learning, cooking math and like food history and learning knife cuts and different international cooking was something huge for me. And then after that, I started working with Mario Batali at Babbo. And then from that, I started catering lots of big Hollywood parties.
Did you find that as soon as you got into culinary school that it clicked, that like maybe this was something you
Yes.
should have been doing to begin with?
Totally. The first month I said, this is something that I really am latching on to. And then when I graduated, things started raining down from the sky for me that I didn't, with acting, you pursue, and, you've got to work at it. You get your breaks when it happened, but I wasn't even trying. And things were falling into my lap. Working with Kat Cora, she asked me to be a sous chef on Iron Chef. I did an 8-part series with Thomas Keller. I started working with Mario Batali, right after cooking school. I mean, that doesn't happen usually. So I thought, this seems like a good fit. So
I'm sure you were the envy of many chefs.
I was. I mean, I did have a leg up because of who my husband was.
And also your own work as well. I mean, I'm sure you had your own friends in New York City and in the industry.
Yeah, it was easier to get to those chefs. I mean, going to charity dinners and seeing people at, Alex's Lemonade Stand, which is a big thing with chefs in Los Angeles. So I was able to make those connections faster.
So now Life is a Party. This book is doable recipes, as it says on the cover, but specifically for throwing parties, for get-togethers, so you don't feel overwhelmed and stressed while you're doing it. What made you want to focus your book on that?
Well, it's not just for parties. I mean, these are all standalone recipes, and you can break them out for any occasions. It's all a seasonal book, so it focuses on seasonal cooking and going to your farmers markets and going to your local purveyors and cooking seasonally, which I'm really a big fan of. What made me go into the party realm? I just love entertaining, and I think for me it was important for people to see a little bit into our world of how Neil and I entertain. And I wanted to create special moments for people that they could remember for the rest of their life. I think that's what we have in life. Is
How often do you guys entertain?
a lot. We entertain
Really?
at least, once a month, if not every other week. And there's people who come in for dinners on the weekdays, and we have stuff on the weekends. And
Is that something that the two of you bonded over very early on in your relationship, that you liked company, that you liked
we
entertaining?
like having our friends over. We like having friends over. We always would do game nights in Los Angeles, and I would cook, and Neil would, Neil would do dishes.
Is Neil not much of a cook?
He's not much of a cook. I mean, if he's good at taking instructions. But the one good thing I really did, a big thing I did with him was a couple years ago, I got him 4-hour lessons with a head bartender at Nomad. So he learned how to make all the famous cocktails. So he learned every single spirit and how the offsets of every classic cocktail there was. So he is.
Oh, that's incredible. I want to do that.
You should go introduce yourself to a bartender, and then just get that for your wife. I mean, what a great present that is.
Yeah.
To learn cocktails and learn how to do it. And I love presents that are, interactive, as opposed to presents that, sort of experience, as opposed to just here's a tie.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like I I don't love gift certificates too much because they feel like they can be kind of lazy.
Yeah.
But when it's a gift certificate for an experience of some kind
Totally.
that is completely out of the blue, or it's something that maybe you mentioned at one point in the past and the person held on to it, there's nothing better than that present. Like, oh, how did you remember this random thing that I said 6 months ago that I didn't even really want to do, but thanks.
I love the notes part in your phone because you can put down all that.
Yeah.
It was just the other day, a friend of ours said his favorite flower was lilacs. He had a birthday. Lilacs came to his house. It's those little things, but that's in the book. Like you learn about the specifics and the how to make something more special with someone. I think that creating moments and special moments is to go above and beyond what people expect is how you create these times that we are not going to forget.
Do you have a recipe that at this point is your white whale that you conquered, that is your sort of king recipe?
I think there's two.
Queen?
Yeah, both. Yeah. There's in the book there's a porcini rubbed ribeye that has sort of been my signature, my go-to. That in a pinch, I keep the porcini rub in my pantry, and all you do is you press it in and throw it on the grill, and that's it. I mean, that's all you do. You take one of those squeezable balsamic glazes and just put that on top. It looks restaurant quality. There's that, and then also there's a bolognese that I make that I keep in the freezer for the kids at all times. They love a good bolognese, but the bolognese isn't in there.
Why not?
I don't know. I think I wanted to keep something for myself.
Are you always experimenting in the kitchen and trying to figure out new recipes?
When I have time, it's a lot with having a relationship and having 8-year-old twins, and I'm doing a couple other projects. We've got a film that's closing Tribeca Film Festival that I produced this year.
Congrats.
So
Tell me about it.
it's a great documentary. Chris Mokable, who directed the Lady Gaga documentary that was on Netflix, directed it, and it's the sort of the start of Wigstock, the festival, drag queen festival, from when it started in the Pyramid Club to us bringing it back last summer. So it sort of follows all this really archival footage of Lady Bunny and all the cast of characters around her, and then sort of us remounting it from the 11-year break that it had.
How did you hear about Wigstock, and how did you become affiliated with it?
Well, I went to Wigstocks. Right. I had been to the last 3 Wigstocks. I mean, I'm old. So, so I had been to the last couple of them. So I thought have drag so relevant in the business right now, I think it was a good place to do it. I mean, I called Bunny and I said, look, what's going on in our world? I think it's a time to bring it back. And she said, oh, honey, with what's going on politically, it's time for us to laugh. So she said, let's bring it back. And that's sort of how we got to the point of where we are now. If
drag doesn't bring joy into your heart, you are a dead person, in my opinion. Like, I don't care who you are, what political affiliation you are, introduce you to a drag queen, and you will be as happy as you can possibly be.
It's so true. And you know what? Part of the reason we wanted to bring back the documentary or make the documentary or bring back Wigstock was because, the cast of characters these days with RuPaul's Drag Race, you get to see these 7 or 8 queens throughout the year, and they do what Ru wants them to do. And I think what she's done for drag is unbelievable. But these drag performers that perform are hooking every single night for $1 and are doing their specialty acts. No one really gets to see that. And there are some killer performances out there. I mean, no one really knows how funny really Bianca Del Rio is, or how amazing Alaska is at a lip sync. I mean, their specialty acts are unbelievable, and that shows a little bit about the world.
I grew up in Massachusetts, and every summer we'd go to the Cape, and we'd always do like a night or two in P-Town. And my family, my parents, who were fairly conservative at the time, they're not anymore. Thankfully, George W. Bush and Trump has kind of ruined that for them. But we would go to drag shows, and there's the smiles on their faces, and they were taking pictures with queens afterwards, and it just made them so happy. and the rest of their life, the rest of the year was nothing like that whatsoever.
It's fun, and Bunny's in the book. She's in the Fright Night, the Halloween sort of chapter.
What's your favorite holiday to entertain for? You guys love Halloween.
I'd say Halloween. Halloween's bigger than Christmas for us.
Yeah.
We have a storage unit in the Bronx that holds all of our Halloween decorations and Christmas decorations. No joke.
Do you like bring the kids to the storage facility when Halloween is coming? Like lift the shed and like get
No,
like,
we bring it all
start-
back. We bring it all back, and it's a chaos in our house for a couple of weeks until we get it all up. But it's fun. Our whole outside of our house is decorated, and it's a lot of fun. But in terms of you were saying experimenting, I don't have that much time experimenting. But when I do have time, I love getting into the kitchen and trying new things, and I love doing it with the kids too, because they bring a whole element to it. In fact, I did a Chopped Junior party for our kids a couple of months ago, and there were 3 sets of teams, and there were team captains, and I was one of the team captains, and we were making a dessert, and one of the ingredients was apples and puff pastry and some cotton candy, and I told my son to go get some cinnamon for the apple pie that we were making, and he grabbed garam masala, and he put a big thing of garam masala in it, and it was really good. It was this apple curry pie that I never would suspect would happen. But it's mistakes like that happen sometimes in the kitchen that become, prizes.
Do you have a favorite type of food to experiment with? Like, do you like baking the most when it comes to experimenting, or do you like
I don't like
meats or-
baking. I don't like experimenting with baking. I mean, it's a lot harder because it's such a science. It's chemistry. I'm more of a rustic cook. That's why it was challenging to write the book, because I'm just throw this, throw that, taste this. Whereas you have to get more technical with how you're, measing out the ingredients and cups and teaspoons and all of that. But I like, cooking with just local produce, like going to the farmer's market and seeing what's fresh and awesome, and then coming back and seeing what I can do with that. That's my favorite way to cook.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we have time for a question in the audience. We have one question.
Wow.
Who has the question right here? Hi.
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 So you mentioned that you like cooking seasonally.
Yeah.
So let's pretend I know nothing at all about cooking seasonally.
Okay.
How would I get into knowing which vegetables to buy when?
Well, I mean, go support your local farmers. Go to the farmer's market and what looks great to you. There are lots of different things that I've never seen before, like a bitter melon. You ever see that? It looks like a cucumber, but it's spiky. So you just get that and go, it's so easy now online. Just look up bitter melon, ideas for bitter melon, and just experiment, just play.
Are ramps in season right now?
Ramps are in
season
season
right now, right? They're the
so
best.
good, and they're
Ramps
only
are
in
so
season
good.
for like 2 weeks. So get them now. And
to
there's
go to
so
the
many
farmer's
great things.
market this
Even if you
weekend.
pickle them, you'll have them for the whole year.
Oh, I've never pickled ramps. That
They're
sounds
so
great.
good. And especially if you pickled ramps and then make a ranch dressing out of it, pickled ramp ranch on salads, so good.
That sounds incredible. This interview was worth it, David.
You can also take the ramps and dry them out and make a powder and then add them to different sauces or
Really?
sprinkle them on things. Yeah, fish and stuff like that.
Oh, I had no
Yeah.
idea. Wow, David, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
The book is called Life is a Party. It's on shelves now. People can check it out.
Yes, you can get it.
And again, what is the name of the documentary that is going to be closing out the Tribeca Festival?
Wig.
Wig. David Burtka, everybody. Let's hear it.
Thanks, guys.